We are in this together.
You have gifts that I don't have, and I have gifts that you don't have.
That we must see. Now is the time, because it's when we all get together that we will make the changes that we must make. We are the world.
Malcolm and We, heard exclusively on malcolmpresents.com, a streaming platform heard around the world and beyond. And beyond, I have no idea where it is, but I know one day we'll have visitors from another planet who, land on Earth and say, "Where's Malcolm and We? Where's it from?" But anyway, today we have Richard Flyer, who is Symbiotic
Culture. Symbiotic culture.
Anyway, and here's my co-host, Jana Larson. And Jana, introduce Richard, who you know much better than I do. Go ahead, Jana.
Well, I will be glad to. Thank you. Yes, as already mentioned, our guest today is Richard Flyer. And Richard has spent over 40 years as a pioneer in the area of multidimensional embodied spirituality, fully integrating one's spiritual life while at the same time building bioregional ecosystem networks. He is involved in a collaborative effort, the Symbiotic Culture Movement, with an audacious goal to activate 50,000 micro bioregional community networks by 2033. It is based in part on the Sarvodaya movement in Sri Lanka, a spirituality-based movement and network that has already activated 5,000 bioregional ecosystem networks who have led the way in this novel approach. So welcome, Richard Flyer. Thank you for being here.
Well, welcome, Richard. The question that I have, we're talking before, what is bioregional?
Yeah, it's a great question. Bioregional has to do with a division of both land, human habitation, and it's of a particular scale all over the planet. So there are bioregions, which are larger areas geographically. For example, one would be what's called the Salish Sea bioregion, which includes northern part of Washington State, including also Vancouver Island and Vancouver, Canada. There's probably 100 different little villages, towns, and cities in there, and it includes Seattle and Vancouver. So that huge area from I think Olympia, Washington, north to Vancouver Island is considered part of that bioregion. And I don't know how total there are. I use the term micro bioregion because the focus of my work is in the level what you would call a municipality or a city or a county. The easiest way to think of it would be maybe 50 miles radius from where you live. And it is not itself a bioregion, but it anchors a bioregion. So it's like the major human habitations within this larger ecological zone.
Now, your concentration is any particular bioregion or any particular area, or is it worldwide?
So the paradox is it's global, but local. So in other words, it's based on a fractal principle of community empowerment that would work universally in any community around the planet. And it's based on principles that go back thousands of years. I call it an ancient blueprint, but it articulates how spirituality and transcendent energies, if you will, can be brought to bear in building actual community networks made up of local nonprofits, Main Street businesses, local government, who come together for a shared higher purpose to build networks of mutual benefit. So it's for each of the different parts of a network like that, they come together to help themselves, but help each other. So that's what symbiotic means in this context. It's mutual benefit at every scale, from the person to the family to the neighborhood to the community. So it's both and. It's local and global, but not top-down global, because that would be imposed. It's more of a bottom-up organic process.
Now, at the beginning of the show, when I first met you, I was telling you that I was involved more or less like in a Buddhism type of thing, in my early years in New York, and I used to go to, the Swami Satchidananda and, all the, people coming in from India. And basically what it was, we used to go the chanting at the beginning to get in touch with the world. Is this involved with that, getting into anytime I hear someone, like yourself, I sort of think about getting into the inner world, your inner spirit, to find the peace. And I remember you concentrate and the power was someplace below the navel, and you get that strength within your own self. Is that part of your movement?
Well, there are no specific practices associated with symbiotic culture. But it's still based on an idea that human beings, we have an interior dimension to us, and then there's an outer dimension. And the fact is, in efforts to change society or to make things better, typically it focuses on external change, like feeding the hungry, or building like local businesses, or taking care of the environment. The inner part of symbiotic culture just has to do with being connected to a transcendent, however anybody would define that, and to have that connection as a resource for building community. So there's no specific practice other than alignment with shared virtues that come and flow through being connected in the inner life, generosity, sharing, cooperation, love, forgiveness, patience. All the virtues are required really within each of us on the interior dimension to be able to unify and connect a community, especially today when it's so polarized and divided. Bringing a community together is not an easy thing, especially when there's all this division. So when I talk about the interior life, it's not specifically about meditation itself. It's actually about a principle of being capable of holding space within yourself to be actually able to unify your community. In order to do that, you can't be promoting any particular agenda or languaging. It's got to be for the common good, and you have to be connected to that. However you get there, prayer, meditation, jogging, I don't know, mountain climbing, however you connect to your higher, better self in order to unite a community, that's great.
Yeah, well, that's the old adage, again, in the 60s and the 70s where I grew up, and I grew up, as I said, in Manhattan, you have to fix yourself before you can fix the community. I mean, basically, you have to work on making you a better person, and then you can extend that. But basically, how is this different than someone that's, sort of promotes religion? Because in the ultimate sense, if you are religious, whether you be Jewish or Catholic or Protestant, basically your message is to help people. Again, it's not being done. I mean, in the practical application of what's happening with religion is far from what the meaning should be. But how is this different from, let's say, if I'm Jewish, and when I go to temple on the High Holiest Days on Yom Kippur, basically they talk about how you as a person, as you as a Jew, can help the world. Not asking forgiveness or talking to, asking God for his prayers, but basically how you as an individual can go out and help your fellow man. And I know all other religions are like that. They preach that. How is your thing different from being a religious person?
It's a great question. I don't consider myself religious. I guess I don't even consider myself spiritual, but not religious. I don't even think about it. But yeah, bringing these worlds together, the interior world, which has been the province of religious sensibility, religion, and spirituality for thousands of years. I guess what's different about this is it's not promoting any particular religion or it's not itself promoting a separate idea about the nature of reality. It actually is universal in the sense that it acknowledges the shared virtues, the shared intention across religion, Western, Eastern, even indigenous cultures going back 100,000 years. There's some shared principles like the golden rule. There's other shared virtues that religions and others hold important, like being of service, sharing, all the things that we talk about. I would say that symbiotic culture is an attempt to connect the good within all people, whether they're religious or not, but really, especially if they are part of any organization, including religious ones, to bring them all together to meet the basic needs of a community. So in that sense, it's not forming a separate silo. It's attempting to bring all the different religious and other organizations together.
Yeah. How do you, let's say you're starting in the community, how do you implement this? Who do you reach out to? How do you disseminate your message?
Yeah, that's a great question. And right now, my approach is I've recently released my book, Birthing the Symbiotic Age. And I've been it's sharing more than 40 years of actual hands-on experience to do just that, bringing together communities, starting with the person, with a street, with a neighborhood, with organizations in the community and the whole community. And in my book, and I'm releasing now, I will be sharing what I call a cultural recovery group. And the idea is to build a local, I call it a symbiotic society. So it's an informal group, and it uses the model of Alcoholics Anonymous. But instead of focusing on addiction to alcohol or drugs, coming together informally, symbiotic society is actually about personal and cultural recovery. And that's recovery of principles that have been known to humanity, and I call that part of an ancient blueprint about how to relate these spiritual principles with community action. So that's the first step, would be people that are aligned with this idea. They would form a small group to support each other, and also begin on a several step process of bringing these virtues into their existing organization, into their family, onto their street, through action, through activity. Kind of like you're saying, I was raised Jewish, so I'm familiar with that orientation of heal and repair the world, tikkun olam. And it's like that, but extended beyond the individual, beyond the family, beyond the street that you're at, to the whole community. And ultimately, these nucleus of a new humanity in these groups would start connecting organizations around practical satisfaction of needs that are in any community. So growing more food locally and consuming more food. So really focusing on building a food system. Do the same with energy and water. And then, bringing neighborhoods together. So there's 12 areas that have been identified that we would then build what I call symbiotic networks. These are networks of existing charities, Main Street, small businesses, and local government. And then that would be kind of one outcome of the progress of it.
So let's say you're reaching into a new area. I don't know if there are any new areas for you now. I mean, you've been doing this 40 years?
That's true. That the thing about it is that I started experimenting with community building like this in San Diego. And then the majority of it was in Reno, Nevada, or Northern Nevada. But I've also am working in an ongoing way with the Sarvodaya movement in Sri Lanka. where thousands of communities are already active in building this kind of parallel society and culture. Right now, there's not a network that exists yet where this is happening worldwide. So that's an intention, and that's the purpose of sharing my book. Is I want to give the tools and techniques and methods for anybody anywhere in the world who wants to implement this themselves, so that they can themselves empower their own community. I'm not going to do that for them. There's no external organization like some global network that's going to, somehow help them. It's up to the people in communities who get inspired to do this for themselves. I'm just providing a framework to make it easier for people to come together.
So basically, your group is you reaching out.
Yeah, so the first step is I need to share my book so that people can understand, where the ideas come from. They can start relating to them, and and start incorporating that into what they're doing now with their existing organizations, their networks. And at some point, I'm hoping that there'll be enough interest in and desire to implement it, and then I'll work with those communities and support them to build it on their own.
Okay, well, let's find out how can we get your book? Is it at stores, or is it online, or is it on the internet?
Yeah, that's great. Thank you for asking, Malcolm. The book Birthing the Symbiotic Age, I've started to release it as a weekly series. So I didn't release it all at once. So the intention is to give this away freely for the probably take several months, and it's online on Substack, and the website for people to go to. Is that okay to share it?
You can share it.
Yeah, so it's my name, richardflyer.substack.com.
Okay, Flyer, Flyer.
Yep, Richard Flyer, all one word, .substack.com. If you just even did a Google search, if you've forgotten, you say Richard Flyer, Symbiotic Culture, or Richard Flyer and Substack, you'll find it, and that's where they can find the book. I have only released so far a number of posts that there with a variety of tools and some ideas to help start thinking about building community. And then I've released the introduction and chapter 1 and chapter 2 of the book, so they can catch up. It makes it easy for people who are new. They can just come there and get caught up in the reading. And I've just launched also on Spotify. You can catch up and listen to the episodes freely on Spotify and also on Apple Podcast.
Okay, you read the episodes, or it's audio?
Yeah, it is. What I do is I'm sharing the particular part of a chapter as a weekly post. It comes out every Thursday. It's a weekly post, and I also do a voiceover. Yeah, I do that myself.
Oh, good. Well, as you know, Malcolm and we is sort of a division of, not a division, but basically we're involved with we the world, and what we want to do is give a voice to people that don't have, that don't have their own voice, but to extend to people who are working to improve the world, such as yourself. So when we go off the air, you can talk to Yana about possibly coming affiliated with us, or having your website as part of our website.
All right.
Or you can do your own show.
Okay.
But you talk to Yana
Yes,
about it.
I have kind of talked to him. I've kind of talked to him about that, and I have some other ideas for him too. And can you hear me okay, or is my audio breaking up?
That's pretty good.
It's pretty good. You're a little weak, but we'll talk about that. But we love to
well,
use
I was going to
part of our family.
Yeah, we would. So I was going to say that this is about the symbiotic culture is about interdependence, meaning I need you and you need me, and we need to work together and find our common ground. And my other question was, I think I tried to pronounce it, but I think I put the accent on the wrong syllable. So it's supposed to be Sarvodea instead of Sarvodea, the way I said it. Is that correct? Sarvodea?
Well, it,
I still mispronounced it.
it's one of those six of one, half a dozen of another. But Sarvodia probably would
Oh,
be
okay.
It
one
depends
way.
on what country you're from.
Yeah, and you're referring to the movement in Sri Lanka that provides a prototype, an actual example that's been building in 5,000 communities for 65 years, where they've actually have been developing what I'm calling symbiotic culture. They've been doing that themselves. They call it their own, they have their own system that's more Buddhist based, but
Right.
it just shows that
Yes.
it's possible for people to be interdependent, like you said, and depend on each other and build up local communities around that.
Well, basically, we're all
Well,
dependent
speaking
on
of
each other.
interdependence and symbiotic, wait a minute, I want to say this, Malcolm. So I met Richard through part of our MLK event that we've been doing, and economic justice a lot is what that theme was. And Jack Strasberg, who is a we the world person with me, he's my co-coordinator for economic justice. And so, but we had another event on later with someone, his name is Jamin Shively. And we were talking about what you're doing with symbiotic culture, because together we all think that the way it's going to happen is with community and community building. So,
Yeah.
I'm going to be talking to you about that because he's fascinated with what you're doing. When we were telling him about it with community building, because he has the idea, but he doesn't know how to do the part that you know how to do. So, in the symbiotic sense, we need to get together
Yeah,
and figure out how to make everything work.
yeah, that would be nice.
Now, on a practical sense, of me being a Western person, how do you support yourself?
How do
How do you get money for the organization?
for me, I'm just sharing my time and my own money generously. I don't make money from it. I don't intend to make money from it. I'm a businessman in the medical field. I work in the field of hyperbaric oxygen therapy, and I've been doing that for 23 years. So
Okay,
I have a consulting company that I do consulting for, facilities that do the therapy itself. I help them, support them.
what is that specifically to a non?
Hyperbaric oxygen therapy is originated as what you might consider treatment of decompression and diving injuries. So, what you might be familiar with is a large room where people that go in that having, dived, they have some challenges with
The bends
bends, yeah. But it's primarily for the elderly diabetics who have wounds that aren't healing on their feet, foot wounds that have trouble healing because of poor circulation in a diabetic, and then also people who have had radiation therapy for cancer previously, and the radiation in certain cases damages healthy tissue, and it becomes like an internal non-healing wound, and we can help to heal that. So I work with facilities throughout the Western and mountain states.
Oh.
On,
And this can be extended. Can this be extended? Like, again, I'm reaching that age where everything that I go to the doctor for is age related. And he said, "What do you expect? You're so and so age."
there's no cure for age.
Right. There is. It's called death, but I'm not ready for that yet. But could that be extended? Because everything seems to be involved with circulation and the blood getting around.
Yeah, the thing
Can
about
this
it
be
is,
extended? Because I know sometimes I'll get up and you feel dizzy, and the doctor say that's because the veins in your legs aren't as strong enough to bring the
yeah,
blood up to your brain. Is there any
yeah.
way?
So it's not designed really for healthy people to treat age-related normal degenerative disease. It just happens. It's for people who actually have problems like diabetes that restricts circulation in a physical sense. Like, for example, in their legs, the circulation feeding their feet are poor because of the disease process, or radiation actually damages tissue. So in people that don't have those kind of compromised conditions, people just normal, average functioning people, it's not going to help any more than it's not a cure for that or anything.
Yeah, but somehow in back of my mind, there's some sort of a therapy that people use to, inhale oxygen. And it's
Yeah, well,
supposed to-
it was something that was a
Oh, and
fad.
the oxygen.
Yeah, that's like a fad where people are making money, making promises on just it's an unknown science, like, does it help? Does it not help? So they can make money on people's desire to hope for the best and that it'll help them. But I'm more of a scientist by background, so there's no evidence.
What is your background?
Sorry, Malcolm.
No. Okay, I was ready to order the oxygen from you.
What you were going to ask me something? Sorry, I think I might have.
What is your background, education wise?
I've got a master's in biology, so my field was animal communication, specifically dolphin and pilot whales. So I studied dolphin and pilot whale communication, and I did my research at Catalina Island, and also I was at San Diego State to finish my master's in biology. So
I'm living now. I've been living in Los Angeles for about the last 40 years.
okay.
So, you almost have the ideal type of field or background that people say, "Gee, I wish I studied, the whales or."
Well, I was there in 1981. I was at Catalina Island at the Isthmus. Yeah, I remember that well. So, were you there during that
No,
time?
no, I was here, but I didn't participate.
Anything?
I was too busy making money. I was basically in radio broadcasting and sales.
Excellent.
And management, because LA was a radio market because everybody's in their car.
Yeah,
and now I'm extending it that's what in the communications in the last 2 years I've been involved with the doing these type of podcasts because I think that's the future.
Yeah, I think you're right.
And basically, and that's why I'm saying, I want to extend an arm to you to see if we could give your voice to other people, or especially to the youth who listen to this.
Awesome.
Okay.
Yes, I'll be bugging you, Richard.
Now, how do you go into a community? Who do you reach first?
Yeah, that's an excellent question. So right now, there are many different community movements. So there are global networks that have a community focus. And I've started to connect with some of them. So where a group has a community organizing effort already. So there are already many movements, and I call those like the threads of a tapestry of weaving things together. So the answer to that question, it's not a random thing. There are multiple movements in local communities reflecting different flavors, if you will, of reaction and response to what's happening in the world. And so some of those folks are currently reading my book, and my approach is to work with them within existing networks that are already in community, rather than starting at random with a random person. These movements already exist. They're just scattered and fragmented. And the purpose of my book is to encourage many of these existing leaders that are already working in communities to extend their own networks by adopting some of the methods that I'm going to share with them on to build these symbiotic networks. So,
did you mainly stay domestically, or do you extend it to international?
Okay, I just heard sorry, that was
okay. Do you extend is your reach more domestically, within the United States or Canada, or do you reach into foreign countries?
Yeah, it's worldwide. I'd say my readership is probably only maybe 42% US. So 58% are elsewhere, mostly Europe and Asia.
So do you have it translated in other languages? I'd say some.
No, not at this point. No, but I will. Once the book comes out as an actual standalone book, which it will, when I'm finished with the first 2 out of 3 sections, and that'll be probably early summer. And I release the book, well, then it'll be digital, but also physical if you want to order the book. At some point, I'll probably translate it into other languages.
Okay. By the way, we're down to our last minute. Again, where can we contact you? Where could we find out about the book?
Yep. So go to Richard Flyer, all one word, .substack.com, and it's the Symbiotic Culture Substack. Either just plug that in, or do a search online, and it'll pop up, and then you can subscribe for free and catch up on the back reading, but also listening, since it's now a podcast, and they can go on Spotify on Symbiotic Culture.
And then can they contact you if they want to find out more about your organization or?
Yeah, absolutely.
On
On the Substack homepage, there's just a simple contact button, and there it has all of my information and social media, as well as even my phone number and email.
Anyway, it's been fascinating speaking to you, and I hope we can meet and join forces, because again, you bring part of my life that was back into the back in the 70s, back into vogue again.
Well, I think it's that many thousand-year-old idea, even though I haven't been around that long. But the idea is of building community. It's part of the treasury of the wisdom of humanity, and it's just that we've forgotten or neglected it, and it's a matter of bringing what we know naturally to the fore.
Right. Well, not getting politically, we need this in this country.
Oh, absolutely.
A little kindness. Anyway, thank you very much.
You're welcome. Thank you for having me.
Yeah. And remember, you're listening to Malcolm and We on MalcolmPresents.com. Thank you very much, Yana, and I'll see you next week. Bye, Richard. Bye.
Bye-bye.
The objective of the organization We the World is to facilitate cooperation on a global scale amongst groups and individuals dedicated to implementing solutions to the many challenges we face on the planet at this time.